A gentleman has just come and sat next to me. I know who he is. His name is Robert Powell. And I've had a couple of big fights with Robert Powell in my time on this very set here in New York City. Specifically, he works for The Economist. He's the guy who said that Donald Trump is a huge threat to the world, a greater threat than, what was it?
I don't know, Brexit?
So what are you doing here at 12:46 a.m. on a Friday morning? Are you here to cry about the Brexit vote? Because I don't think you wanted that, did you?
Well, I could hardly sleep. You know, it's a bit like camping, intense. So I'm kind of getting involved with it. Obviously, The Economist was strongly supportive of staying within the European Union, and it is a bit of a gobsmacking turn of events. I think we can all agree.
A gobsmacking turn of events. Now, there's an interesting turn of phrase. It is a dramatic turn of events. That is absolutely true. You think it's a terrible thing, do you?
Yeah, it's extraordinarily bad news.
For who?
For the UK, for Europe, for the global economy. Now,
is it bad news for America?
I don't think it'll have a huge impact on the US. The UK is, what, the 5th biggest economy in the world. It's the immediate European project that really looks under threat. You've identified it yourself. But the US will be relatively separate from this. We're thinking about the global economic impact. Maybe world GDP will be down about $200 billion next year just because there's going to be an impact on sentiment. But in a world of $75 trillion, it's not going to be that big. It's the UK and Europe that will really feel
Wait a second. You work for The Economist magazine newspaper, whatever you want to call it. I used to think that The Economist was a free market, a capitalist organization. And here you are, worried that Britain will exit this pseudo-socialist bunch of people in Europe, and you're worried about it? You think there's something wrong with that? I think it's liberating. What we want is private enterprise. We want capitalism, don't we?
You have a beautiful turn of phrase, Stuart.
Don't we?
Yeah, of course we do. And of course Britain's actually really competitive already. It's about number 10 in the World Economic Forum's Economic Competitiveness Index. The amount of regulation that comes out of the EU is massively exaggerated. The reason why people get so exaggerated, so worked up about things like straight bananas and cattle, things like that, is because actually they've got so little power. The UK does have sort of a hybrid model between, if you will, the pseudo-socialist Europe and the rest of the, well, in the United States with a more capitalist approach. It actually does quite well in the middle.
But Robert,
it's kind of put all of that
they wanted to regulate tea kettles out of existence in Britain. What are you thinking, lad?
That's press. It's high-powered tea kettles. So you don't know what they're going to get up to, but actually it was an environmental method. Anyway, a lot of the stuff that goes on is in the foaming at the mouth press, who've been bashing the European Union for donkey's years.
Foaming at the mouth press. Would that include moi?
No, sir. Gentle human being.
Liz Pink is here.
Don't you think that some of the arguments that were being made by The Economist, and I reread the article today that you had about it, or one of many, was more about concerned about the EU and less concerned about the UK. And in fact, your comments just now kind of hark back to that everyone's worried about the dissolution of the EU.
Meaning that you're being elitist.
Yeah, and the English people were like, we don't care. We're more concerned about England.
And I'm being cheeky. No, I'm not. You're being elitist.
No, that's lovely. Thanks a little. No, it's all because we're obviously absolutely a British organisation. Of course we want what's best for the UK. No surprise at all that The Economist believes that immigration is actually good. It brings in a lot of skills, and then open borders, free trade leads to a lot of foreign investment. If you walk away from that, you get a massive amount of uncertainty. There's a reason why sterling has just fallen to its lowest level since 1985.
I would argue that a lot of that uncertainty and, in fact, the collapse of sterling today and so forth is because all the people who were advocating for Remain made it an apocalyptic scenario if, in fact, they voted to leave. I mean, I think they've created, it's sort of like, oh, my gosh, the world's coming to an end. You must vote to stay. And now, what are they going to say?
Well, and now that it happens,
right,
and the markets fall, and sterling collapses, maybe they were right.
Temporarily.
We get all of these predictions from economists and from The Economist magazine. You are the guys, you are the reason why I cancelled my subscription to The Economist after 35 years.
Your loss, Stuart.
What?
Your loss.
No, it's not. Well, I could still read it. I borrow friends' copies.
You borrow mine.
I borrow your copy.
All the time.
Wait a minute. You guys came out and you said you endorsed Barack Obama for a second term. Mr. All Government all the time. And this is from the Economist newspaper, which supposedly is geared towards free markets and capitalism, and you supported Barack Obama for a second term? What are you thinking?
Well, he supported the winner at the end of the day. He did come out on top. But it's not like the
That's all
Economist
it is.
is part of some elitist agenda. You know, it's not all kind of part of this idea that there's been this attempt to kind of rig elections. There's people in the UK going on about taking pens in case someone changed their votes. It's got kind of ridiculous. It was as much elitist on the Leave side. You had the Daily Mail, the Times, the Daily Telegraph, the Sun, all fervently pushing for Leave. You had the former head of the Conservative Party, Education Secretary, all pushing for Leave. It's not part of some conspiracy.
Well, wait a second.
Wait, hold on a second. You know, Robert, that I was born and raised in England. When one Englishman talks to another Englishman, we know all about each other by the way we speak. I know all about you. You didn't go to a private school, did you? You didn't go to Eton, Harrow or Winchester, did you?
No, I didn't.
You went to a grammar school, didn't you? An ordinary public education. That's where you went, right?
Aye.
And you're from the north of England, aren't you?
Aye.
You came from either a working class or a lower middle class background, didn't you?
Oh, middle class.
Middle class lad. That's right. See, the point is, you are a striver. You're just like me. You want to work hard, climb the food chain, and keep a large proportion of what you make and work for. What the devil are you doing with that bunch of neo-socialists who want to take a bunch of money off you? What's wrong with you?
So you're incredibly good at identifying my background, by the way. Your psychic powers.
We know each other. You know where I'm from.
Somewhere around Yorkshire, I'm guessing.
South.
South? Peak District?
Derbyshire. Peak District. Boom. Exactly right. Excuse us, Americans. We are just having a little tete-a-tete here between a couple of limeys. Go.
So it's a bit like being north of the wall in Game of Thrones, I guess with the wildlings or
so
something
why
like that.
aren't you a striver?
Well, I'll tell you a story. Like UK employment, after the Great Recession, the biggest driver of new UK employment was entrepreneurship. There was a huge amount of striving going on. There was a huge amount of jobs being created by individuals starting their own businesses. And that's entirely possible within the UK while it's part of the European Union.
And it's not possible if it's not in the European Union?
No, nothing is absolutely one way or the other. But it's much more difficult to be exporting to the European Union when you've just said you're going to walk away from it.
I predict that you'll never return to Britain, that you will live in America.
I'm quite fond of the US, are you?
You are, aren't you? I knew it, you see?
There you go.
fit in.
Oh, thanks, mate. So do you.
I do indeed. All right, Robert.